It's lovely to be here again. I feel greatly honoured to be back here. It's really some years since I was. And what I thought we'd do, I was in Towers last year. I was invited to give a conference, a talk at one of the conferences. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to move on to my research. Well, before that, we're going to talk about the synchronicity of the labyrinths in connection with the crop circles. Last year, I was sent a lovely email by somebody who said that I find that gazing at pictures of crop circles brings on a very meditative state. And I love to use your book because there isn't a lot of text to distract me, and the photographs are stunning. How's that for a plug? Come and see my book afterwards. Incidentally, the stalls are situated downstairs. And as she was looking at these pictures, suddenly a word came into her mind, which was didactic. Now, this was a word she didn't know. So she went to her dictionary, and she found that didactic in the dictionary said, designed or intended to teach, intended convey instruction and information as well as pleasure and entertainment. And many is the time that people have asked me, what meaning do crop circles have for you? Well, I think this is on a very personal basis. I think many people might possibly have different answers. But to me, that absolutely fits the bill, because I've learned more in the past 20 years than I've ever learned earlier in my life. So they are a profound subject, and I'm sure you'll all have your different reasons why you're involved in the crop circle world. Now, to go to Towers, I was invited to this wonderful labyrinth conference, and Towers is in New Mexico. It lies 7,000 feet up beneath snow-capped mountains, and it was the most wonderful town, a small town. It was a town of literati with sculptors and poets and authors, and it was just fantastic. And one of the museums there was built by a man called Fechin. He was Nikolai Fechin, and he was a Russian artist. Admittedly, I'd never heard of him, but he was renowned in Russia in those days. And it was the days of the revolution, the Tsarist revolution. He married somebody from the Russian aristocracy, so she had to flee. He was protected due to his artistic ability. But he built his own house, and he was just one of the many people living in Towers. And look at the wonderful work. I'm not certain if this is working. Oh, yes, there we are. Can anybody see the pointer? I don't think it's working. Let me see if this is working. I'm going to need that in order to move on. Oh, there you are. You could. What?
Press it hard.
Press it hard. Whoops. Wait a second.
No.
Oops.
Which slide are we on?
We'll go to back again, and back, and back. Right, no.
So that's backwards,
There we are.
that's forwards, and then press the button hard.
All
and
right.
get the pointer.
There we are. Under control, maybe. But as well as being a town of literati, it was also a place where the North American Indians lived, the Pueblo Indians, and it was one of the few places, I think in America, that was a World Heritage Site. And they were wonderful people. Sadly, we'd given them the gift of drink, of alcohol, and many of them had alcoholic problems. But these were their dwellings and their adobes. And what is fascinating, that originally they didn't have any openings. They didn't have doors or didn't have windows. The only opening was in the top of the house. And they used to go up via a ladder, pull up the ladder, and then descend the same way. And the reason they did this was to ward off the attacks of the white man. Eventually, of course, they succumbed. But that's the photograph I took of one of the Pueblo North American Indians, you can see what a magnificent face he's got. And the wisdom of those people is absolutely amazing. It's a simple but profound wisdom. This is a man called Tlacatel, and he is a Toltec North American Indian. He actually comes from Mexico. He was 87 years old. He's traveled the world, he's met the Dalai Lama, and when he heard of my close connection to the Mohawks, he said he wanted to do a day with me, a workshop with me. Well, you can imagine I was profoundly honored. And the day came, and it was a wonderful day. There were well over 100 people in the audience. I perched on the edge of the stage, and he sat with his interpreter. He understands English, but I think he has difficulty conveying what he wants to say in English, so he has an interpreter. And we told stories. And we told stories all day long. I could tell stories all day long, and so could he. And he was very interesting about 2012. Many people are worried about 2012. And he said the shift started in 1947, and he wouldn't be budged from that. And I looked up on the internet to see what indeed had happened in 1947. And it was the year when an American, it was the first time somebody broke the speed of sound, an American. It was just after Hiroshima, and also it was the year of the Roswell event. But he's a lovely person. He speaks in the language of the natural world, of the streams and the mountains and the birds and the beasts, and this amazing, deep wisdom. And quantum physics aren't any problem to him because they're part of the natural world too. So it was a quite incredible experience. Then we went one evening to a specially designed labyrinth. Now, this was constructed by somebody called Akhtar, another North American Indian, and he'd constructed this on the same geometric principles as the pyramids. And there were a whole series, 1,352 little bags, paper bags full of sand, into which was placed a lighted candle. And there were 1,352. That is 8 times 8 times 13. And I can't remember the significance of it, but it did have some particular significance. And you'll see all these extraordinary lights or orbs. And nearly everybody, when they took photographs, these orbs appeared. And there's one there which is particularly vivid. And I'll show you in a second. Whoops. Oh, what's happened? Am I going wrong? Sorry, new technology.
Which slide were you on?
That one, yeah. We're going on to the next one. Very good, thank you. And as you can see, this one there, it's almost as though it has information in the cellular structure. Now, I know a lot of this can be explained in plasma physics, but some of these orbs move with an intelligence, which is way beyond what we can really understand. And when I asked Akhtar about these, he said, oh, those were the spirits of his ancestors. And we went to labyrinths all over the place. They're laid on sacred spots by a North American Indian, and their energy comes from the ground and also comes from the geometry of the actual labyrinth. And everyone has their own particular energy.